Hey y'all, it's me, Miss B, and today we're talking about hyperbolas. So this is our last conic section that we're going to cover. And it comes from, if I were to take two cones stacked up on top of each other like this, and I were to cut through both of them, and it would create a shape something like this. So like that, which is the hyperbolic shape there. It's kind of hard to see, but if you were to slice it this way, then you would see that it creates something like this. Let me do a different color here, green. So if I were to slice it this way, it would look something like this, and you'd see that hyperbolic shape there if you were to cut into that side. And it would be wider or skinnier depending on where you cut it. Okay, so this is our last section. It follows similar patterns to the others. We'll just have to be careful to distinguish between the types. So we have this thing called horizontal transverse axis, and so that would be if I have two cones that are stacked up like this. And it's gonna open up left and right as far as maybe I misspoke. Horizontal transverse. So it would open this way, and our cuts would be like this if we had horizontal transverse axis. So you'll notice that we have x minus h squared and y minus k squared. That is very similar to our parabola. Our ellipse. The difference between that and the ellipse is we've got our a squared and b squared are always going to be where they are. It's just that x is going to match up with a squared for horizontal, and for vertical, our y is going to match up with our a squared. So it doesn't necessarily go with the bigger one. And the other difference is that in between here, we have subtraction, not addition. So those are the two major differences between those equations. And then finally, the last thing is that c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared, and before it was subtraction. So go ahead and write down the information here. So we've got center is HK, but the center is not actually on the graph. We won't ever graph it. It's just kind of our starting point. So I'm gonna go ahead and write that down, that this is like our starting point here. Doesn't actually get to go on the graph. We have asymptotes, y equals k plus or minus ba, x minus h. Of course, that changes with vertical. Vertices are h plus or minus a, k, and foci are at h plus or minus c, k. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our first example here. Okay, so we have x plus 2 squared over 36 minus y minus 3 squared over 16 equals 1. Okay, so our center is going to be -2, 3. I'm actually going to write these over to the side here so I can have room to work. All right, then let's go ahead and talk about a and b. So I'm going to change my color here. So this is going to be my a squared, and this is going to be my b squared. So a is equal to 6, and b is equal to 4. So when I find the equation of that line, my asymptote is going to be y equals k plus or minus, oh, well, I already have it. So k, which is, this is my h and my k, so 3 plus or minus 4 over 6, so b over a, times x minus negative 2. So that is y equals 3 plus 2/3 times x minus 2, and y equals 3 minus 2/3 x minus 2. Okay, we want to keep the equations of those lines. I'm going to split these off here. Zoop and zoop. Okay, so 3 plus or minus, or plus 2/3 x, and then distribute that through, so minus 4 over 3. And so y is equal to 2/3 x, and then 3 minus 4/3. Oh, I made a mistake. This is supposed to be plus because that double negative there. So then that's plus 4/3, so that's 2/3 plus 13/3. Because this is 9/3. All right. Then for this one, y equals 3 minus 2/3 x minus 2/3. So y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 1 plus 5/3. No, that's not right. 9/3 minus 2/3 would be 7/3. Yes. Okay. All right, so then we'll graph those two lines. So let's go ahead and graph our center, which is negative 2, 3. I'm just going to put a little point because it really doesn't mean anything as of right now. So then our 13/3 is, so we can plot that point is up 2 over 3 from that point and down 2 over 3. So those, we really care about the slope here. So positive 2 and negative 2/3, and these will go through the vertex or the center. So that is why we need to know the center. So I'm just going through the center and plotting. I'll plot positive 2/3 here first. So there's that. So this is our positive 2/3 is our n, and then our negative 2/3 would be this line right here and extending up. So that's that point. Oh, that's not right. And so there, oh my goodness. Don't know why it's not letting me plot the point. There we go. All right. Then our, so we want to go A and B. So A is 6 and B is 4. So our vertices are going to be AOA. So here is that vertice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6 on the other side, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Off the graph a little bit, that's okay. And then our C we'll need to find our c by taking c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So c squared is equal to 36 plus 16. So we get c is equal to square root of 52, which is about 7.2. So I'm going to go ahead and plot. That's 6. This is 7.2 away. And 6, 7.2 away. From the center, I'm not even really plotting the points anymore, so that's the distance from the center. This is the distance from the center when we plotted those. And so then we just draw a little graph kind of following those lines, reaching out to touch and going around the foci like that. All right, so if we have vertical transverse axis, it's going to open up or down. There's the equation for that. The center is HK. Asymptote is yeah, that was right the first time. Y equals what did I? Why do I feel like I put this down wrong? I think this should be K. This should be Y equals K. No. I messed up. Y equals K plus or minus A over B X minus H. Okay, that's right. So, and then our vertices are H, K plus or minus A, foci H, K plus or minus C, and this is just memory. A might not be bigger because it goes with the transverse axis, just like we talked about at the beginning of the notes. So let's run through and talk about these. So this is going to be A squared is 9 and B squared is 49. So A is 3 and B is 7. Since we have A squared and B squared, let's go ahead and do C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. So C squared is equal to 9 plus 49. So C is equal to the square root of 58, which is about 7.6. My center is going to be at -1, 2. I'm going to go ahead and plot my vertices, so up 3 and down 3 from that vertex. And then let's find the equation of that. So Y equals K plus or minus A over B X minus H. So we have Y equals, my K is -1 plus or minus 3 over 7 X minus 2. We skip ahead and kind of show those two things. It's going to be Y equals 3 over 7 X minus 13 over 7. and y equals -3/7 x minus 1/7. So I kind of fast forward through that, plot these 2 points. They go through the center, so I go up 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And to the right, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make those dotted asymptote lines there. Like so. All right, and why do I feel like I'm off? Because I switched. This is my y and this is my x. So all of this actually needs to move over to -1. Did I have that right? Yeah, I had that right when I plugged it in. So you'll have to erase, but I can just pick these up and move them over. So to -1, there's that. Okay, and so then we are able to graph. This just goes along these asymptotes here, like so. So it's gonna go really wide. Like that. Okay, and we do have a transverse that goes through here. That's where that vertical transverse axis is. And our focus, our foci are going to be, where? 7.6 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.6 and 7.6. And then again, these are the vertices.